Hello guys, and welcome back to SV98. 2020 has been one heck of a year. It started with everyone thinking World War III was about to happen, then Kobe Bryant's death, and then there's the not-so-welcome gift that keeps on giving, COVID-19. The world has been on pause for a little while, with almost every country enforcing a form of lockdown. With everyone at home and routines disrupted, it's no surprise that the public has had time to not only delve deep into the lives of celebs, but also enforce cancel culture. 2020 has seen a lot of your faves and ours get canceled. Join us as we talk about all the celebrities that have been canceled in 2020 so far. Doja Cat. Would this list be complete if Doja isn't included in it? Amala Ratna Zandil Dlamini's rise to fame was largely due to her singing about a cow, which somehow became a hit among the masses, which we say with no shade intended. Ever since her song dropped and her popularity rose, Doja is always trending for one thing or another, especially with how much a lot of us stan her. So it was a major surprise to see that Doja Cat is over hashtag trending on Twitter. It turns out that back in May, an old track of Doja's Didn't Do Nothin' resurfaced. To spare you the terrible details of the song, let's just sum it up as a song that should never have been created, seeing as it glorifies racism amongst others. As if the uproar from that wasn't enough, it turns out that Doja also visited racist tiny chat rooms regularly and allegedly stated how much she doesn't like being black. You can see how this would go over with the public. Doja later issued an apology for her past actions, and although we're not sure how the public feels about this, we hope Doja has learned something from this experience. Shane Dawson. Shane. When will people learn that the past will always come back to bite you in the butt? And honestly, we don't even know where to start. Shane Dawson has always been in the news for one surly comment or action or another, and this time is no different. The YouTube star had barely scaled through the public forgiving him for his racist comments a couple of years ago, but with the coronavirus keeping a lot of us indoors, and with time on our hands, it was only a matter of time before old videos from his previous YouTube channel surfaced. Not only did Shane wear blackface in his videos, but the YouTube star also made highly derogatory comments to the black community, amongst others, and creepily sexualizing young children. Usually YouTube stands aside in these dealings, but they decided that enough is enough this time, and demonetized all of Shane Dawson's channels. Hopefully this time, Shane won't just be apologizing for the sake of it, but will genuinely work on himself. We don't know what would happen to the YouTube star as 2020 goes on, but it looks like his fame is down a dwindling slope. Lana Del Rey. Twitter is the birthplace of cancel culture. If you ever see one of your faves' names trending in the sidebar on Twitter, you have to be sure they're trending for positive news. It came as a surprise earlier this year when we saw Lana Del Rey trending. A lot of us thought she released new music while we were all asleep. Imagine our surprise when we found out she was called out for her lyrics. Some said was driving back the women's movement a couple of hundred years. The public came for Lana with claims that her lyrics glorify abuse and subservient behavior in women. Lana didn't quite speak out on it as soon as it happened, but once the dust seemed to settle down, she came out with an Instagram post targeting the lyrics and promotion of sexuality by Camila Cabello, Ariana Grande, Nicki Minaj, and Beyoncé. As one could imagine, the public came for her and pushed for the Lana is Cancelled movement majorly, because this society is all about women's empowerment, and seeing a woman come for other women would unleash the social media herd. Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen DeGeneres has graced our screens since as far back as the 70s, and over the years warmed her way into most hearts. She has been providing talk show gold, and like the spirit of the holidays, she was always giving her audience members gifts. So why exactly would a star like Ellen be in talks of being canceled? It all started with a now viral post featuring Dakota Johnson on Ellen's show, as the host asked why she wasn't invited to the party. Turns out Dakota did invite Ellen, and Ellen decided not to show up. The entire ordeal was awkward, which is probably why the video is now viral. Although the discussion was soft, it had people coming out and speaking about Ellen. Not any misconduct per se, but for being plain mean. Many people have come out to speak on their interaction with the talk show host for mean behavior and relations on set. Many celebrities, including Kevin Hart, have spoken out in support for Ellen DeGeneres as being one of the nicest people they've ever met and cannot believe the stories coming out of the works. The problem lies in the public feeling like they were being sold a lie of this always positive person, only to discover it may not be entirely true. Jeffree Star. There has to be something about YouTube fame that makes all these stars lose themselves, because we've had the same YouTube stars making the headlines all the time. This time it was Jeffree Star. The YouTube star turned mogul was dragged by the public for the name of his new makeup palette. The palette was called Cremated and was high along the gothic lines and pasty tones, but was deemed highly tone deaf amidst the coronavirus pandemic. In his defense, the production of this makeup palette was well underway before the pandemic hit, but fans believe the release could have been pushed back. The timing of its release was highly insensitive to the public, as a lot of people lost their loved ones during this pandemic without even being able to say their goodbyes. Riding on the waves of the palette mess, Star's old tweets, racist behavior, mean actions to fellow YouTube stars, and audacious lipstick Nazi statements have the public wondering why he's even still relevant. The star has since apologized, although we don't know how much of it he means. Surely time will tell. Vanessa Hudgens. The coronavirus has altered the way life used to be. Despite society finally getting back into a routine, the earlier days of the virus had a lot of people complaining, including the public sweetheart Vanessa Hudgens. The actress took to her Instagram Live during the earlier part of the lockdown to express her frustrations on how the pandemic was affecting her life. She said until July sounds like a bunch of expletives. I'm sorry, but like it's a virus. I get it, I respect it. Even if everybody gets it, like yeah, people are gonna die, which is terrible, but inevitable. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be doing this right now. The star wanted the lockdown to be over and for life to return to normal. The statements caused an uproar in the public space, especially with those who had already lost people to the virus and came off as highly insensitive. Rather than address the situation head-on, the star claimed that her comments were taken out of context, but we highly doubt that. Realizing that the public was not buying it, the actress later came out and apologized for the insensitive nature of her comments and swore to take this as a learning process and better herself through it. Jimmy Fallon. If there's one thing cancel culture has shown us, is how badly your past actions can mess up your present life. Funny guy Jimmy Fallon has been on our TV screens for as long as we can remember. He's generally always under the radar, while still bringing us quality entertainment. So imagine our surprise when the public was calling for his cancellation amidst a skit he did in 2000, performing his fellow funny man Chris Rock. The fact that he portrayed the actor was not what had the crowd talking, but rather the fact that he dressed up in blackface. Jimmy Fallon apologized for his actions and stated how it was never his intention to be offensive, and has since announced that he's taking a break from the show. We don't know if Fallon would be back on our screens or how soon it would take for the public to get over this, but we can't wait to see what happens. Tyra Banks. When you think of the show America's Next Top Model, the first name that pops into one's head is Tyra Banks. We all love her. Not only was she the go-to on how to pose and smize, but she was also the go-to for new looks you could try out to switch things up a bit. And earlier this year, it was that exact bit that had the public in an uproar. Rewatching old episodes of America's Next Top Model highlighted how rather insensitive some of the show's methods were. There's always an episode for every season where the girls go through a complete makeover to give them more model-like appearances. The public was outraged at how the girls went on the show and were told to change who they were just to fit in. A particular episode that resurfaced was that of a contestant, Dana, who was ridiculed by Tyra Banks for not wanting to close her gap. Tyra's comments on her gap were considered extremely rude and a bullying act. Leah Michelle. Glee star Leah Michelle came under fire during the Black Lives Matter protest for the death of George Floyd. As a show of support to the movement, the actress tweeted that George's death was one too many and advocated for the movement. A well-meaning tweet took a turn for the worse when her old castmates, starting with Samantha Marie Ware, tweeted about Leah's terrible behavior on set. Samantha Ware tweeted that Leah's behavior on set made her consider if a career in Hollywood was even worth it. This tweet was supported by other castmates, including Amber Riley. In all, this information made Leah Michelle's support of the Black Lives Matter movement seem purely for attention, because really, how can you be against racism if you occasionally exhibit racist tendencies? Leah released a public apology, blamed her actions on immaturity, and pledged to use this time to reflect on herself and actions. J.K. Rowling. Harry Potter fans happen to be some of the die-hard fans you would ever encounter, so it came as a surprise to see them turn against J.K. Rowling. Rowling was spotted liking tweets that were offensive to the LGBTQ community, and even openly posting transphobic tweets, including her belittlement of a tweet on people who menstruate, a tweet that supported trans people. The odd thing about Rowling's tweet is that even with the uproar her statements have caused, Rowling still stood her ground. Now all her fans seem to be turning on her, and Rowling, in an open letter to Harper's Magazine, spoke on being against cancel culture. Cancel culture might be rampant these days, because COVID-19 has left a lot of us with free time, but it does bring attention to topics we shouldn't be letting slide anyways. The way things are going, there might be a lot more celebrities getting canceled. Who knows? The next one might be one of your favorites. Until next time, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to get more awesome videos from SV98.